They shouldn't have to be a top 10 penalty killing team. They should be able to control some of that and not be, take 38 penalties and draw 35. Like, yeah, it's great that they've drawn that many, but they shouldn't have to take that many in order to get to that point. So it's early, but there's a lot of stuff to look at and try to fix, and it's going to be interesting to see how they plan on addressing it.
We shall see, Brian. Beyond the box score, though, late period goals, what are they doing in the late periods to score? What are you seeing that is a reason for optimism in that front?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not going to say optimism. So this was something that, and if you've followed me on Twitter, you've probably seen these. But somebody had made a point, and I've actually been guilty of it as well. That it's like, oh, the Predators, here they go. They're like, they've got to be the worst team at letting goals come in the last couple minutes of a period or last couple minutes of the game. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I went actually, found that information and went to go look at it. And, last season, that was not necessarily the case. Last season, I think they were right there in the middle. Let me see if I can pull that up for you. They were, they were 16th, tied for 16th, where they had allowed 23 goals in the final 3 minutes of regulation. And then if you look at the last 3 minutes of just every period in regulation, again, 17th with 49. So, I mean, they were middle of the road last season. So I thought, okay, maybe they're not as bad as what we all thought. We felt like that there was a lot, but there wasn't. But then I went and looked at this year, and it's steadily gotten worse as the games have gone on. So again, as of this morning, looking at the last minute of any period, they've given up 7 goals. Now, this does include empty net goals, but I think that kind of illustrates the point as to, yes, they're still giving those up because they're in a position to where they're behind. They don't have the lead. They're trying to score, and that empty net goal is meaning that they didn't do it. So in the final minutes of any of the periods, the last 3 minutes, they've got 7 goals against, which is 31st. Only Ottawa has more goals, only one more goal against in those final 3 minutes. And then when you look at the final minute of regulation, they're tied for last with Ottawa and Toronto with 4. So in the last 3 minutes of games, they've given up 4 goals, and I believe only 2 of them have been empty netters. So it's something that Terry Crisp he's harped on for years. He said it's how you finish, how you start these periods, because if you're looking, it's 18 minutes into the period, you're tired, the teams are just trying to get off the ice, and then you give up a goal. You go into the locker room feeling even worse. It's hard to kind of get that momentum, do anything like that. And that's, it's been showing. They've been giving up these goals. They've, that's probably why they've, 7 games, they haven't had, they've only had, I think 2, what is it? I say like 2 games where that they were leading after 1.
I think, yeah. Was it 2 or 1?
Yeah, I think it was, I believe so. So, I mean, like that's the issue is that, this is a team that, 0-1-1 when leading after 1. So even when they get a lead, they're not able to protect it, because even if they start and get that first goal of the game, like they did in a couple times in the last few games, the other team's coming back and scoring on them again. And so that's kind of erasing any chance they had or any advantage. And so, it is a lot of it's curious to see this, because again, it's small sample size for this team, 7 games. Most teams nobody's played more than 7. Actually, I think they get back. San Jose's played 8, but you don't want to see a team there on that. It would be one thing if this was a team that was sitting at 5-2 right now, and they're giving up those late period goals. That's because, the other teams are pressing, and they're, they change the score from 5-2 to 5-3 or something like that. That's one thing. But from the way they are, especially knowing, like, we've seen them blow leads several times now. They blew the dreaded 3-1 lead, a couple times already. And so, this is something where they're, I don't know if it's conditioning. It could be that, that they're just so tired out, or that they're focused on getting off the ice at that point and not closing out this game. And so it's something definitely to really look at and probably be a little bit worried about, because, if this is a team that hasn't really performed well when they are trailing, obviously, but when they're leading and they're blowing, they're giving up these leads and they're giving up goals and allowing the opponents to get back into the game. What is the strong suit? Do they need to do, most teams are either they need to get a big lead and defend it, or they can score a whole bunch to get themselves back in the game. And Nashville is neither one of those things right now. And so, you want to see a lot more. The top six has been underwhelming. Forsberg, Duchesne, they've got goals. Niederreiter and Johansson, they've been able to score, but not in the moments. Those are two lines that should be able to take over a game at some point, especially when you've got that kind of quality in both lines. One of them should be able to, if you've got a line with Philip Forsberg, Matt Duchesne, and you're down 2 goals, that should be that line that you put out there and you wear them down. If you don't score, then the next line, Johansson, Niederreiter, Tolvanen, whoever it is going to be, they should be able to do it. Teams shouldn't be able to match up against both top lines, but they're making it happen. And it's not, we're not getting a lot out of the offense. Now, obviously defense is a massive issue. There's still a lot of growing pains for that Ekholm McDonough duo. It's going to take time. You've got Ekholm on his opposite side. He's always played on his left until this year. So time will tell if they stick with that. But I mean, he said himself when I asked him after a game, it takes 20, 30 games to kind of get a good feel for where you're at. But, starting to look at how the games have been going, they may not have 20, 30 games to get that figured out. They may have to figure something else out and get, Matthias Ekholm, back with maybe Dante Fabro or something just to